the president of FIFA standing before the world on the eve of the most controversial World Cup in history. Since that speech, Gianni Infantino has expanded the World Cup to 48 teams, launched a new Club World Cup, and overseen revenues surpassing $11 billion, all while 211 member nations keep voting to give him more. Has the FIFA president become more powerful than football itself? To answer that, you need to understand how one man turned a corruption crisis into the most ambitious expansion the sport has ever seen. On May the 27th, 2015, Swiss plainclothes police entered the five-star Bauer Olac Hotel in Zurich, arresting 7 high-ranking FIFA officials on United States federal corruption charges. The raid exposed decades of systemic bribery, racketeering, and wire fraud, effectively ending Sepp Blatter's 17-year presidency. Football's global governing body was facing institutional collapse, its brand toxic and its finances under intense scrutiny. To survive, the organization needed a complete administrative reset. Enter Gianni Infantino. Since 2009, the Swiss-Italian lawyer had served as the General Secretary of UEFA, European football's powerful administrative engine. To the public, he was the highly capable organizer of Champions League draws, a multilingual technocrat who understood the complex machinery of sports law and governance. When he entered the race for the FIFA presidency, he positioned himself as the ultimate insider reformer, a steady hand capable of modernizing the institution. At the extraordinary FIFA Congress in February 2016, Infantino campaigned on a platform of structural salvation. His proposed reforms targeted the root of the corruption scandals. He promised strict term limits for the president, independent audit committees, and the transformation of the controversial executive committee into a newly structured, more accountable FIFA Council, which included mandatory seats for female representatives. But institutional cleanup was only part of the appeal. While European nations saw a trusted administrator, federations across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean saw a different opportunity. Infantino understood the math of the FIFA Congress. One nation, one vote, meaning Montserrat or South Sudan held the same electoral power as Germany or Brazil. To secure their backing, he promised to drastically increase direct financial assistance, pledging to redistribute FIFA's massive revenues back to the grassroots level through what would become the FIFA Forward program. When the ballots were cast on February 26, 2016, Infantino secured 115 votes in the second round, defeating Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa. He took office not just with a mandate to clean up the corruption, but with a clear, binding promise to the developing football world. More money, more support, and a louder voice in how the game was run. The technocrat had become the president, and the restructuring of FIFA had begun. In January 2017, less than a year after Infantino took office, the FIFA Council voted unanimously to expand the Men's World Cup. The tournament, structured around 32 teams since 1998, would grow to 48 nations starting in 2026. The official format, approved in 2023, outlines 12 groups of 4 teams. The top 2 finishers from each group, along with the 8 best third-place sides, advance to a new round of 32. This structure increases the total match count from 64 to 104. For the finalists, the path to the trophy now demands 8 matches over 39 days. FIFA projects this expansion will help drive overall cycle revenues past $11 billion, framing the decision as an act of global democratic inclusion. More qualifying places offer developmental opportunities to smaller federations in Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. Leaders of these regions have long argued that the traditional 32-team setup disproportionately favored Europe and South America, locking out emerging football cultures. Now, increased participation directly translates into guaranteed grassroots funding, new stadium infrastructure, and academy programs in countries where athletic potential has historically lacked institutional support. Yet this rapid growth has sparked intense debate. Player unions, including FIFPro, have raised immediate concerns over the extreme physical demands on elite players, warning that a compressed calendar with little off-season recovery increases the risk of injury and severe mental fatigue. Critics, including former national team coaches, argue that a larger field dilutes the competitive standard of the group stage and reduces the prestige of qualifying, transforming a rare, high-stakes tournament into a sprawling commercial event. Some sports economists also caution that the marginal financial gains from these additional matches might not match FIFA's optimistic forecasts. Ultimately, this redesign sits at the heart of an ongoing debate about the sport's direction. It remains an open question whether a 48-team tournament represents a successful effort to globalize and grow the game, or a fundamental shift away from the elite athletic quality that made the World Cup the most prestigious competition on Earth. In June 2026, the expanded format moves from theoretical debate to physical reality across Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Staging 104 matches across 16 venues creates a logistical operation of immense scale. According to official bidding documents, the tournament requires moving over 10,000 metric tons of equipment across international borders, managing 3 separate customs regimes, and coordinating matches across 3 distinct time zones. For the teams and millions of traveling supporters, geography itself becomes an active competitor. Distances between host cities exceed 2,000 kilometers, forcing squads to adapt to rapid shifts in climate, from the high altitude of Mexico City to the midsummer humidity of Miami and the temperate Pacific Northwest. Environmental assessments estimate the tournament's carbon footprint will reach approximately 9 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, driven almost entirely by the necessity of air travel. While FIFA maintains that regional clusters will make the tournament manageable and symbolic of global unity, the lived reality for supporters points to a highly demanding experience. Apart from the physical toll of constant travel, financial projections indicate this will be the most expensive World Cup in history. With individual group stage tickets starting at $350, typical fan budgets for travel, lodging, and tickets are estimated to run between $7,000 and $10,000. Official hospitality packages start at $5,300, climbing past $73,000 for premium access. This vast scale shifts the tournament from a centralized festival into a continent-spanning stress test, raising questions about who can actually afford to follow the modern game. In late 2023, the FIFA Council finalized a format for the 2030 Centenary Tournament that spans 3 continents and 6 nations. Under this plan, Spain, Portugal, and Morocco will serve as the primary hosts, while Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay will each stage a single opening match. FIFA's official rationale frames this decision as a historic celebration of the tournament's 100-year legacy, uniting the global game through a shared cross-continental narrative. Yet outside the governing body, this symbolic ambition has sparked immediate concern. Football writers and transport analysts argue that dividing the tournament across hemispheres creates severe logistical strain and sets a challenging precedent. Supporters face expensive, multi-continental travel, while national teams must adapt to rapid climate shifts and major time zone changes before the tournament has even fully begun. This multi-continental footprint also directly influenced the host selection for 2034. By utilizing the hosting eligibility of Europe, Africa, and South America for 2030, FIFA's rotation policy restricted bidding for the subsequent addition to Asia and Oceania. Official records show that Saudi Arabia became the sole candidate for 2034 after the Football Federation Australia withdrew from the process hours before the October 2023 deadline. The selection of Saudi Arabia has drawn intense scrutiny. Verified reports from international human rights organizations express significant concern over migrant worker conditions, drawing direct parallels to the labor abuses documented during the build-up to Qatar 2022. Critics argue that the kingdom's massive investments in sports infrastructure represent a deliberate effort at sports washing, designed to improve its global image. While FIFA maintains that all host nations must adhere to strict human rights frameworks and independent audits, opponents claim that the governing body's accelerated bidding timeline effectively bypassed meaningful scrutiny. These structural choices leave the global game facing a fundamental question whether the World Cup remains an elite athletic competition or a tool for geopolitical leverage. FIFA's expansion strategy does not stop with national teams. The governing body is now moving directly into the highly profitable arena of daily club football, traditionally dominated by domestic leagues and continental bodies like UEFA. In December 2022, Gianni Infantino announced a completely redesigned Club World Cup. Set to launch as a 32-team tournament, this quadrennial event is designed to crown the ultimate global club champion. Official FIFA materials frame the competition as an effort to globalize club football, creating new commercial opportunities and allowing clubs outside of Europe to compete regularly at the highest level. But this push into the club game has triggered immediate and coordinated resistance from the sport's established power structures. Player unions, domestic leagues, and club representatives argue that FIFA is unilaterally seizing control of an already overcrowded football calendar. FIFPro, alongside the World Leagues Association, issued formal warnings to FIFA, stating that the addition of another major summer tournament pushes the physical limits of elite players to a breaking point. Critics point to the collision between sporting logic and commercial ambition, arguing that the tournament exists primarily to capture new television rights and sponsorship revenues. In June 2024, the English and French player unions took the unprecedented step of filing a lawsuit against FIFA in the European courts, alleging that the governing body's decisions violate the legal rights of players under European Union law. The struggle has evolved from a debate over international pride into a battle over who owns the players' time and who controls the wealth of the club game. The physical boundary of this expanding calendar is measured in minutes on the pitch and days of recovery. Peer-reviewed sports medicine literature indicates that the modern elite football player is subjected to unprecedented physical demands. According to data compiled in the FIFPro 2024 workload report, athletes who cross the threshold of 55 appearances per season face a statistically significant rise in muscular injuries and persistent mental fatigue. This strain is compounded by extensive international travel, forcing players to cross multiple time zones between club and country matches. The central pressure point in this system is the shrinking window of rest between competitive seasons. When summer tournaments expand, the traditional off-season recovery block is systematically compressed. Sports scientists warn that without a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks of complete physical and psychological detachment from training, the human body cannot fully repair chronic tissue damage or restore central nervous system function. Consequently, FIFPro has demanded the implementation of a mandatory 4-week summer rest period, alongside strict limits on back-to-back matches played with less than 72 hours of recovery. While FIFA maintains that its tournament structures are designed with player health as a priority, aggregate injury data across European leagues shows a steady rise in squad depletion. The debate now centers on systemic sustainability rather than individual fitness regimes. As governing bodies maximize the calendar, football confronts a biological barrier, the physiological capacity of the people who play the game. FIFA operates as a global association of 211 member nations, rather than a traditional league hierarchy. Within the FIFA Congress, the central rule of governance is simple: one nation, one vote. Under this system, the football federations of Montserrat, Andorra, or South Sudan possess the exact same voting power as Germany, England, or Brazil. This democratic setup makes every single federation, regardless of its size or footballing history, politically valuable in presidential elections and major policy decisions. Within this system, regional alliances form naturally, as continental blocs pool their votes to negotiate for larger shares of funding and more tournament spots. To understand why support for Gianni Infantino remains strong across much of the globe, one must look at how FIFA redistributes its massive commercial wealth. Through the FIFA Forward program, the governing body allocated approximately $2.8 billion to member associations and regional bodies between 2016 and 2022. For many smaller nations, these funds represent the lifeblood of their local sports systems, paying for artificial pitches, coaching education, and national team travel that would otherwise be impossible to afford. With the budget for the 2023 to 2026 cycle reaching $13 billion, FIFA has scaled these direct investments even further. To these federations, Infantino's expansion policies represent a necessary correction to decades of Eurocentric neglect rather than bureaucratic overreach. Yet independent analysts argue that this exact financial loop creates a systemic barrier to accountability. When a president controls the distribution of billions of dollars in development grants, and those same grant recipients hold the votes that decide the president's political survival, a self-reinforcing network of loyalty emerges. Critics claim this system makes meaningful reform or internal opposition nearly impossible. Ultimately, the challenge of oversight lies within a constitutional structure where financial dependency and voting power are permanently linked, moving the issue beyond the actions of any single leader. FIFA's leadership maintains that centralization is the only viable engine for global equity. Under this administration, the governing body has established unbroken financial growth, projecting a record $14 billion in revenue for the 2027 to 2030 cycle. This wealth directly funds the historically underrepresented sectors of the sport. FIFA has earmarked $150 million specifically for women's football development, aiming to double global participation to 64 million players. In practice, this capital builds pitches for youth academies in Bangladesh and professionalizes national teams in Papua New Guinea. For the federations receiving these resources, the current era represents a necessary democratization of football, proving that consolidated administrative power can successfully deliver the resources required to grow the game worldwide. Today, football stands at an unprecedented crossroads. As the pitch expands and revenues soar, we are left with one unresolved question. Did Gianni Infantino save FIFA and expand football for the world, or build an institution far more powerful than the game itself? Share your opinion below and subscribe to Daily Ballerz for more premium football documentaries.